So some of them were admitted here as well.
Because we are hearing a lot of news in Ahmedabad. There was a place in industry where there were 43 cases. Similarly, in Mysore there was one. In Bangalore, Bosch, there is a big company where there are many cases.
Sir, in Delhi NCR, actually the bulk came from a Noida. In Noida, one office, the MD of the organization came from some, other country. And from him, the 40 people got infected. Maybe this is the story in the last March of the last days of the March. So 40 people got infected. So in this type of organization where lots of people working very closely. So it's very, very important to maintain those basic ethic of this corona pandemic.
Yeah. The industry has an advantage because everyone is together and they are active listeners.
Yeah. So if they are compliant enough, then it's okay. Say, being a healthcare worker, everybody is taking precaution, but even then they are getting infected. But it's okay. But you have to take as much precaution as possible.
Yes.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, President sir.
Good evening, Dr. Sir.
So, Dr. Sandeep,
Yes, sir.
Can we start?
Just wait for 5 minutes, sir. We'll start.
Okay. Welcome, Dr. Yuvraj.
Nowadays, Saturday evening has become a webinar time.
Yeah.
And our Dr. Jain gives us so many options every day. Today there was one at 5 o'clock, one at 4 o'clock.
Okay.
Another one 6 o'clock. Then there is one at 8 o'clock. And see, earlier these programs were local. Only people from Delhi would attend Delhi program. Mumbai would attend Mumbai program. Now with webinar, there is no restriction.
Yeah. Anyone from any part of the world can attend.
It is virtually global. In fact, next Saturday, we are organizing a webinar. Dr. Sandeep Sharma is one of the organizers.
Okay.
And the speakers are from outside India and India, of course, both.
Oh, very good.
Yeah. One speaker from Geneva, one speaker from Rome.
Okay. So what about the cases in Mumbai and Gandhinagar, Gujarat?
Gandhinagar is little spared. Ahmedabad is very heavy. Similarly, in Mumbai also they are heavy. But now what is happening is the cases are now spreading.
Okay.
It all started with the metros.
Mumbai used to lead all these days. Just now Delhi has put it.
Yeah. Delhi has come forward.
As far as cities are concerned.
Yeah. Delhi is a bit stabilizing now. Now the active cases is about 26,000. And Mumbai, it is still 70,000. And Tamil Nadu, 46,000. So number of active cases are very high in this Maharashtra and Tamil Nadu.
Yeah.
Overall recovery rate is actually slowly increasing. It is around, I think, 58% or something.
60% now.
60% now. Yeah.
So our president has also joined, sir, Dr. Sidram Rawat from Pune. I think you have met him when he came to.
Yeah. I met him in QRG Hospital. Yuvraj Kumar.
Okay.
I met him.
Okay, great, sir.
Yeah. Hello. Good evening, Yuvraj.
Good evening, sir. Very, very good evening.
We met in QRG Hospital.
Yeah, I'm here in QRG Hospital. Is the Havells Group Hospital. Havells, the one of the big company in electrical line.
So, Dr. Yuvraj, can we, Dr. Gajendra, we can start, sir?
Yes, please.
Gradually, people will join, sir.
Yeah.
So, good evening, everyone, sir. A warm welcome to you all for this 15th DigiConnect webinar series, which is an academic platform for our industrial doctors, public health physicians, occupational physicians from across India. and we are watching it live on the Zoom platform of AESD DigiConnect webinar series. Today is the 15th issue of this series 1. Today on 4th of July 2020. Our learned speaker today is for today's session is Dr. Yuvraj. Dr. Yuvraj happens to be Director of Orthopedics and Joint Replacement Surgery at QRG Health City, Faridabad, Haryana. And he is also our life member of IUH. And before I introduce, may I request Dr. Gajendra Kumar to give the welcome address.
Good evening, everyone.
Sir,
Welcome
good
to
evening.
this 15th series of our web meeting or web seminar. And as far as Dr. Yuvraj Kumar is concerned, I have one occasion to listen to his presentation while we were there in the QRS hospital. And he's doing a great job, very good job in the field of orthopedics, and with very good results. In fact, in orthopedics, the most important thing is the result of the outcome.
Yeah, functional
So,
outcome.
I welcome all to this series, and I straight away ask Dr. Sandeep to start with the proceedings.
Yes, sir. Dr. Yuvraj is a very experienced orthopedic surgeon, and I had good faith in him. And just before lockdown, I got my father operated by him. And one of the knee replacement, it was done on 23rd of March. And at the start of the lockdown, he was kind enough to take care of him in my absence, and he shifted him from hospital to my house in Noida, from Faridabad to Noida, with all precautions and all fatherly care, sir. So I'm thankful and indebted to you, sir, Dr. Yuvraj. And
Sir, it's pleasure.
yeah, and we know that these times are very difficult times for everyone, and especially for the elderly people. And during these COVID times, we are seeing quite a high number of patients with cardiac, neuro, gastro, diabetic, and orthopedic emergencies presenting late with the complications,
Yes.
which are leading to delayed intervention and the recovery.
Right.
We find that people are delaying their visits to the hospital, thereby resulting in an increase in complications and thus thereby jeopardizing their own lives. The fear of coronavirus and the need of quarantine, it should not deter people from seeking treatment for non-COVID acute medical and surgical emergencies. Though we see a sharp reduction in road traffic accidents, the number of people with fractures due to domestic fall have remained the same. And in particular, the elderly people with hip fractures, they present in the hospital even a few days after the fracture with complications, because relatives are afraid to get the x-ray done, or they just want to wait and watch because of the fear about the corona. So in these particular cases, they need to be treated promptly, and the patient presenting with COVID-19 symptoms, they are treated in isolation facilities, so that non-COVID emergencies, they are managed in main hospital in an uninterrupted way. And that precautions QRG has taken, and Dr. Jitendra has also explained in a nice way how they are managing all the dialysis patient and the renal transplant patients. So we need to respond to these patients as quickly as possible and encourage all the sick people. We should take care of them as early as possible, so that we don't land them in some difficult situation, and the recovery is early. Taking all the COVID protocols into consideration, now it's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Yuvraj, who is Director of Orthopedics and Joint Replacement at QRG Health City, Faridabad, Haryana. Dr. Yuvraj has a vast experience in the field of joint replacement and spine surgery. He is well versed in treating conditions related to musculoskeletal system, which includes disorders of bone, joint, muscle, ligament, tendons, nerves. He took joint replacement fellowship from GPU Johnson and Johnson Stryker Group and spinal fellowship from Great Ormond Street Hospital, London, and Royal National Orthopedics National Hospital at Stanmore. Dr. Yuvraj has participated in several conferences and CME programs as a presenter. and he has been actively involved in many medical camps throughout these years. He has won the heart of many patients by providing them with world-class orthopedics treatment, including you have won my heart also, sir. And according to Dr. Yuvraj Kumar, mental and physical well-being is very important, and he tells the importance of same to all his patients. Pioneer surgeries which he have done is first surgeon in New Delhi NCR to do patient-specific instrumentation with True Match TKR, first surgeon in New Delhi NCR to do delta motion total hip replacement, and first surgeon in New Delhi NCR to do total elbow arthroplasty. So, Dr. Yuvraj sir, now the floor is yours. You can share your presentation, and we
Yes.
would love to listen from you. Because this is an important topic and we all are industrial physicians, and we need to learn from you how to act in these particular circumstances, how to take care of the elderly and the non-COVID patient in this COVID pandemic.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
So, good evening, everyone. And today I am proud, I can say that I am a proud member of with your association, this IOH. And today, as I came to know legendaries whosoever here, so thanks everyone. And thanks to Dr. Sandeep Sharma for giving me the opportunity. The topic today, as we know very well, this Corona time, we are coming across lots of Corona patients. But being an orthopedic surgeon, we know because of the reduced number of the traffic, the road traffic accidents are less. But the house fall, the domestic falls of the elderly patients are more or less remain same. So I will just brief a case about one case which was a little bit difficult because elderly patients and COVID positive. So how did I take care of the patient? And then in subsequently, we started doing surgeries for patients in this Corona time, what precautions we have to take and what are the protocol. So just I'm going to start. Sir, very simply, an elderly patient came to my emergency. Here, he is 83-year male who was finally examined, investigated, but actually in whole, he was Corona positive and fracture intertrochanteric of the hip, and he was operated, Corona treated, not treated, rather he recovered with all the facilities what we have, and we made him discharge within 10 to 12 days with the walking. So being a healthcare, professionals, what are the social stigma is a very, very problem for the patient, relative, and the society where they are living. Because once the people in the society, they come to know that this house or the family is having the, COVID positive patient, then even with the healthcare professional, the neighbors are getting scared. So, being a healthcare professional, this social stigma should not be spread like that. And we have to contain and we have to properly inform everybody the pros and cons of all those things. So what we should do, we should keep ourselves updated and informed on COVID-19 to avoid any miscommunication or inaccurate information. Because lots of information keep on coming through WhatsApp messages and here and there. So, we have to have the correct information so that we can spread the same to our colleagues, society, and wherever we are living. We should talk openly about the harm of the stigma. If that remains in the society, how it can harm. We should view people directly impacted by stigma as people first. Be conscious of your language, acknowledge access and language barriers, check your own stigmas and biases, support community with where to access credible information, and be transparent about COVID-19, which is very, very important. People start hiding. So now it has become very common that the patient is or relative or whosoever is having COVID-19, they are not coming to the hospital and they are delaying it. So because of that, the problem gets multiple, and at last, whenever they come, the treatment becomes a little bit more problematic. So here, as we know, that viruses don't discriminate, and neither should we. So regarding, I will start with my example. The patient presented with complaint of pain, right hip after fall at home. So this is one of the most common presentation of the elderly patients living at home, whether attended by someone or not attended. They have a very trivial fall at home, in the bathroom, or they slip on the ground and they sustain fracture, mostly of the hip. It could be intertrochanteric fracture, it could be fracture neck of the femur. But this patient was having intertrochanteric fracture, and we plan surgery. As we know that elderly patient has a lot of associated problems, so we plan for the surgery and all test was done. So this patient, when we plan for surgery, that time the protocol was that all the patient will be taken to the OT only when the COVID test is done and it is found to be negative. Because if we have any patient who has come in the emergency and something life-threatening or limb-threatening is there, in that situation, we take the patient straight forward to the OT, for which we have dedicated OT, in which all the suspected or emergency cases where COVID test has not been done are taken to that OT. That is exclusive OT. But once this type of surgery, which is a semi-elective, we can tell, that fracture of the hip, we can call it as a semi-elective. This patient, COVID was done. Unfortunately, it found to be positive during workup for the surgery. So once this news came to know to their family members, everybody was shocked. And now the guys, 2-3 people who were taking care of his father, I mean, they were all shocked. So we educated them, we counseled them, then finally we taught them, and finally that patient was isolated in our hospital. That area was designated that this is the isolation. So now the point was that the patient was living alone in that isolation area. An elderly patient, 83-year male, living alone in the isolation, and none of the attendant was there. And all attendant, once this news came to the district officer, this survey officer, they have pasted that type of red, something, on their houses. So all the attendant went to their home and they were quarantined. So now the situation is that patient is living here alone, elderly patient, and the attendant is at their home, and they are also quarantined and getting tested and all those things. But the problem is there, here sisters and the boys whosoever here are looking after the patient. So the patient was slowly after 2-3 days started feeling mentally sick. So because the hospital has got the facility that we are having some guy dedicated for this, so they were connecting with the attendant through video call. So through video call, the patient attendant wanted to see his father and he interact with them or talk something like that, so that he should not feel depressed. So he was kept isolated and treated by the pulmonologist here. Although he was not very much symptomatic, mild, very flu, very simple symptoms was there. And again, the patient, once after 4 or 5 days, again the test was done. So this test came negative. But our anesthesiologist and the OT team said, at that time, that protocol was that 2 tests should come negative. So another test was done after 3 days. And both tests once came negative, then he was taken for the surgery and finally operated for the hip fracture. And after 10-15 days, he went home walking, beating corona and both overcoming the fracture. So this was the person, Mr. Kanhaiya Lal Gupta, who was here very, cachectic, lying on the bed, and he was found to be positive. This was his report on this 1st June. He was positive. Then again it was done on 8th June, which was found to be negative, and he was treated by our pulmonologist, Dr. Pankaj Chhabra. Then this is his X-ray, which you people know very well, that which I am showing here is the intertrochanteric fracture, which is one of the most common fracture in elderly group, because the patient remain osteoporotic, less activity, elderly age, and this all lead to the fracture of the junctional bone. Like here we see it is the intertrochanteric fracture. This is the before surgery. So it is protocol even before corona time that it has to be fixed as early as possible, because as we discussed, the main thing is the functional outcome of the patient. Earlier, when this fracture happened like 30 years back or 20 years back, people used to keep this elderly patient on traction, like whether it's scheme traction or skeletal traction, and patient is on the bed for 3 months to 6 months, and patient developed that complications like bed sore, respiratory complications, and all those things. But now the protocol has changed, that you have to mobilize the patient as early as possible. So whatever fracture comes, whether it is a fracture neck of the femur or trochanteric fracture, it should be operated earliest possible so that you can mobilize him faster. Once you mobilize, the associated complications get reduced very much, like pulmonary complications, embolism, respiratory complications, many things. So we operated him and we put this proximal femoral nail. This proximal femoral nail is earlier, you may be knowing that earlier the main component to fix this type of fracture was dynamic hip screw. You must be knowing that DHS was the common fixation device. But now with this device, there is no need of opening the fracture site. We just put the nail and the screw and see under CR and fix it. So he was operated, and this is the proximal femoral nail. And then just second day, he was made to mobilize with little bit of difficulty, but he was made to stand with the help of walker and the supporting staff, our dedicated physiotherapist. At least you see, once the patient is mobilized just after surgery, and the many complications are automatically reduced. The most common is going to toilet, the bed sore, the chest physiotherapy, the DVT complication, embolism complications, many other things. And we remove the catheter almost next day or the second day. So the elderly patient with the this type of fracture, of course, in this time, this corona time, the perioperative, I will discuss ahead, the perioperative risk of mortality is quite significantly high. So this is our corridor room in which our dedicated physiotherapists take the patient to outside, and which makes the patient quite well. So here, being an elderly in itself, a little bit about what we are dealing with. Being an elderly itself is a huge risk factor for various medical conditions such as diabetes, hypertension, hypercholesterolemia, cardiac factors like patient has undergone angioplasty, dialysis, bypass surgery. So it is the elderly in our population who are susceptible not only to contract COVID-19 and suffer most complication, but they are also most common to succumb to the novel coronavirus. Fracture of the hip are one of the most common orthopedic injuries in the elderly, which could be any fracture, whether it is IT or neck. And here, this hip fractures were considered death sentence in elderly before the era of internal fixation device started. Because once the fracture happened long back, maybe 30 years back, people think that his last time has come and they give up. But with the technique of internal fixation device, once we could make the patient mobilize as early as possible, the concept has totally changed. And this orthopedic surgeon has to not only fix the fracture in a grossly osteopenic bone. So you know very well, the bones remain osteoporotic and osteopenic. So in that situation, fixation of the device is quite difficult. So that's why these different types of fixation device has come to hold the bone in proper way. And at the same time, it's not only the fixation, the management of the comorbidities and preventing all those complications are important. We also have to deal with the fear of coronavirus, not only among the healthcare staff, but among the attendants and relatives as well. So this, as you saw, this old frail man was came here, and after this routine investigation and this COVID, he was finally operated. That patient was shifted to quarantine. Nursing staff were sent for quarantine. Patient got transferred and treated under pulmonologist, and the attendant relative self-quarantine themselves in their homes, which I discussed with you earlier. So now the priorities are changed. Once the fracture is there, and the coronavirus patient is COVID infected, your priorities are changed and everyone has become panic. So socially and with all these points, with the education, what are the things we have to train to the attendant and the relatives, that we need not to scare, rather we should have empathize with the patient and the relatives. The attendant must be taught to use proper mask, preferably if N95 is available, keeping distance as much as possible. And as we know, this washing hands if the patient are living, attendant are living with the patient. So finally, I discussed with you that he was finally underwent hip surgery and went home with the help of support. And we see this mortality and the pulmonary complication in patient undergoing surgery with perioperative SARS-CoV-2 infection. Here we'll discuss a little bit of our cohort study in which the perioperative risk of mortality is very, very high. It's around 23%. So post-operative pulmonary complications occur in half of patients with perioperative SARS-CoV infection and are associated with high mortality. So if you talk about the non-corona time and this corona time, in this time, the pulmonary complications are significantly high. If the patient is COVID positive in perioperative period, the chances of getting pulmonary complications and the mortality is very high. So threshold for surgery during the COVID pandemic should be higher than during the non-corona time, particularly in elderly patients. So here the consideration should be given for postponing the non-urgent procedures and promoting non-operative treatment to delay or avoid the need of surgery if possible. Thank you very much. So it was just a brief discussion. So anything which you want to discuss, I am open regarding the things which I discussed.
Thank you, Dr. Yuvraj, for giving such a lucid presentation and explaining everything, like even these difficult surgeries, how they can be managed during COVID times.
Yes, yes.
So, and we should not be afraid of getting the right treatment at right place, in right hands. And even this non-COVID emergencies, non-COVID patients, they should not be afraid of taking opinion of doctors, maybe through teleconsultation.
Yes, of course.
And, yeah. And later on, if required, they can have face-to-face meetings with them, or they can go and visit them instead of having a fall and then lying in the bed for 10, 12 days. And after that, with complications with bed sores and other things, they go to the hospital, and then the things are not manageable.
The complications become quite high, sir.
Yeah, yeah.
So earlier you do, better it is, but we have to consider everything. Like we have to save the patient, relative, ourselves, and do the things. So the basic precautions are very, very important. Like in the operation theater, we use all use PPE, the shield, and everything. And the patient, we use the N95 mask for the patient during once the patient, our anesthesiologists give spinal anesthesia or general anesthesia, whatever. So I mean, inside the OT or outside, the precaution, because it's the orthopedic problem is that in orthopedics, it is quite aerosols generating, because we use drill, we use saw. So that is aerosols generating.
Yeah. So, sir, what is your protocol? What is your protocol for OPD patients? In this
Nowadays.
Yeah, nowadays.
So in nowadays in our OPD, we keep the stool from our chair at least 5 to 6 feet away. We keep wearing the N95 mask, and that's the most important thing. Whosoever patient or relatives come inside the OPD, it's been instructed that everyone has to wear the mask. So if the attendant or relative whosoever is not wearing that, those are not allowed. So we ask them to wear mask, keep the distance, and only one attendant maximum can enter our room inside at one point of time. And if something more has to be discussed, then all different attendants and they are kept at separate place with keeping the distance together. Only in that situation we discuss. And we don't see much patients nowadays. Of course, the coming OPD footfall is reduced. I would say it is almost 1/3 of the normal non-COVID time, because people are quite scared. They are more fearful. They don't want to come. They are delaying. If small backache or something like that things are there, they are not coming. But whosoever comes, we keep maintaining the distance, mask, not for myself, as well as the patient and the relatives or the attendants whosoever are coming.
One question, Dr. Yuvraj.
Sir.
When this patient came in the first instance,
Yes, sir.
along with the relatives,
Yes.
nobody knew that he is COVID positive.
Yes, right.
And
right.
he was handled by your staff and your people.
Yes.
And thereafter, once the report came positive, which normally comes after 24 to 48 hours.
24 to 40 hours, right, sir.
48 hours. Then you put everybody in quarantine or isolation.
Yes. Yeah.
Now my question is, after handling this patient, did any one of your staff became positive later on or no?
No, sir. No. Because sir, this patient was not that much symptomatic. It was not that much like those flu-like symptoms was not much. Very mild. And none of the staff got positive. Even I would say, those patient and the relatives are in very close touch with me. In that time, their even sons who was living with him, his test was done corona and he was found to be negative.
Okay.
So it's a huge discrepancy. I mean, who becomes positive, who becomes negative, and who will acquire the serious infection? Absolutely unpredictable. Absolutely unpredictable.
Okay. Right.
And even they are taking precautions for this, no? So even before seeing the patient,
actually,
they might be
in fact,
taking.
in our OPD, we consider every patient as potential carrier of coronavirus.
Yeah, right, sir. That is
So
actually
we
true.
are taking all those precautions, the universal precautions at a higher level with all the patients. Entry into the OPD, before any patient or his attendant enter into it, he has to go through their temperature screening. If anybody is running temperature, he will not enter the hospital premises. He will be sent to the fever clinic, which is separate building, separate place. So even anybody coming in a car, he has to roll down his window and he will be subjected to temperature check at the gate itself. So then we have got those multiple places, automatic dispenser for sanitization. So people come and they sanitize their hands. So all those universal precautions are very important.
Very important, right?
So, Dr. Yuvraj, these patients in OPD, they are walk-in patients or their appointments are pre-fixed or staggered? You are giving different times for different patients.
Yeah. We try our level best to stagger the timing. I mean, mostly the patients are come here on appointment basis. So it is time is staggered. I mean, we try to keep the difference of at least half an hour for each patient. So I told you, like the practice itself, the footfall has reduced to 1/3. So not the much patients are nowadays coming.
True. Yes, that's very
So
true.
we can stagger as well. I mean, earlier you see lots of patients are coming inside your OPD and one attendant, 3 attendant, 1 patient. So that things has got totally changed. I mean, the patient attendant, they understand very well.
Yeah.
If unless until something, some people who don't know at all.
Besides this, one thing we have also introduced in our railway hospital, we have
Yes, sir.
started tele consultation. So patients seek appointment through the net, and then the doctor will appear on the screen. Another portion, the patient will appear. He can upload his all reports, his X-rays, everything, and then the consultation is given on that.
Yeah, sometimes here also started, but I'm practically saying, I mean, very few patients have come for this. Mostly prefer to come to the hospital.
Naturally. Yes. Any other question?
Dr. Raut sir, you want to ask something? Sir, you are muted.
Sir, voice is, yeah.
So you did first test for COVID that came positive, and after how many days you did second and third test?
Sir, 7 days.
After the first test, after the
Yeah.
positivity.
Yeah.
And again you did one more test to
After
confirm
just 2 days. After just 2 days. 2 days of the
Achha.
second test.
Okay.
Because, sir, say it was just the protocol. Because nowadays, you know, everything is dynamic. No one knows anything. So
Yeah.
the anesthetist and the OT said, no, we need 2 tests to be negative. I don't know how it makes sense. But I mean, at that time it was 2 days. Now it's not. Nowadays, it is just you do 1 test negative and the patient is taken. And that test is valid for 5 days. 5 days.
Okay.
So, like, if we do any, I mean, although the elective surgeries are less.
So Yuvraj Kumar, a very nice talk, and I think really good presentation, because you treated 82 or 85 years old.
83, yes, sir.
83. The old man beated Corona as well as beated the fracture also. And he went out by walking.
Yeah, sir.
Great. Great. So nice seeing you on the screen, because we met in QRG hospital with Sandeep and all his team.
Yeah.
So hoping to see you soon.
Yeah.
As soon as Corona get over.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. For the inauguration of your new branch.
Yeah.
Dr. Shanbag sir?
Thanks, Dr. Yuvraj, for a good presentation.
Yes.
I have one small question. Before
Yes.
COVID came and now, what is the reduction in the number of normal surgeries you do?
Oh yes, sir. It's one. I mean, out of 1/3. 1/3.
Even surgeries. OPD you said 1/3, but even
No, surgery, sir. Earlier I used to do almost 70 to 80 surgeries, 60 to 70 surgeries almost per month. Nowadays, like in June, I finished with almost 30 surgery.
Okay.
Almost 30. Say the elective surgeries are very less. Like the joint replacement are very less. It's the mostly the trauma. Mostly, I would say the 80% is the trauma, and very few joint replacement. Very few. Like the knee replacement, maybe 4, 5. Like yesterday, I did it 1. So in that way, elective surgeries are less. Emergency, I mean, you know, the overall emergency or orthopedic emergencies are becoming less. I mean, if the patient is having wrist fracture, they ask us to go for the plaster. Even although technically it's not indicated that whether you should go for the fixation, but they ask to go for the plaster and I mean non-invasive methods as much as possible.
Anyway, great presentation. Nice hearing you with all the details of how you saved this guy. Take care of yourself in the operation theater as well as the OPD. Thank you.
Dr. Sudha joined from Chennai, sir. She is from Apollo Hospital, and she is also our past president. Dr. Sudha, you want to ask something, ma'am?
Good evening, doctor.
Yeah,
Well
good evening.
presented. I have one question. Yes, trauma emergency, you take care whatever the risk is.
Yeah.
But how much of these elective cases can you push for some time? We are buying time now because we don't know how long we will go on like this.
So you are talking about the elective cases. So earlier we were postponing the elective cases, but nowadays we have started doing the elective cases as well. As I told you here, yesterday I did another bilateral total knee replacement, and on Monday again we are going to do the knee replacement. So we are not pushing in that sense. Say if the patient is otherwise healthy, and the protocol was that for an elective surgery, the protocol is that patient must be isolated, ideally, technically. patient must be isolated 14 days before surgery. He should not move around here and there. He should be isolated at home preferably. He should not moving here and there. His test should be negative. All the comorbid factors must be under control, whether if it is diabetes or hypertension whatsoever, it has to be in the control. And the family and the patient understands all the associated problems. Then in that situation, we have started doing, or rather encouraging, the elective surgeries, because you and we know very well that when this is going to finish, we don't know. Maybe by this year or what, I mean, hope for the best. But
Hopefully.
I don't know when it's going to be, I mean, finish.
That is why I asked you, do you have a limit of how long you can postpone the elective surgeries? Because the patients are scared of coming to hospitals.
Yes, yes.
If they can avoid it, they prefer to avoid or postpone it, not avoid.
So I mean, okay, if they can, I mean, if say, I mean, it's very difficult to say that it is a 3 months, 1 month, or 2 months.
It's individual.
So, it's individual decision. I mean, very difficult to predict. I mean, unless until you keep sitting idle and just waiting for the things to finish. So, which actually is very difficult to predict. I mean,
Not
even abroad, US, UK, the UK is a, I mean, government system, totally NHS. Even
Yes.
there, they have started doing the elective surgery with all the precautions.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All the best.
Yeah. Dr. Tyagraj is there, sir, from Bangalore. He is himself is an orthopedic surgeon.
Oh.
Dr. Tyagraj, sir, you have to unmute yourself. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Dr. Yuvraj.
Sir.
Wonderful lecture. Very nice. And I'm an orthopedic surgeon. But I just wanted to ask you, one thing is, this branded the new coronavirus.
Yes, sir.
In my 45 years of experience, I've never seen such a most infectious one. Because actually, this coronavirus, 20 to 30% of our Indians are asymptomatic.
Right.
Some are going for oxygen if they get admitted in hospital. Some are going to the ventilator. Some people die. Some people may not.
Yeah.
This kind of new brand I have never seen in my 45 years of experience.
Yeah. It's just a century. It's once in 1 century, like that.
Okay. And what's your opinion about this coronavirus? Because during the first lockdown, we never used to afraid. But nowadays, to sit in the clinic, to see any patients, or to go home, it's a very difficult for us, because whether we carry or not. Because I have seen one video by Pakistani, a madam. She is a gynecologist and her husband is a pediatrician. They had a 21-year-old son, and within 72 hours he expired. I think you might have seen that, this one. They are from Lahore. And nowadays it is very difficult for any clinician or any pediatrician or any orthopedic surgeon to actually see the cases. What's your opinion?
Say, as we see in the practice that considering everything by the Prime Minister and the government, it was not possible to keep the lockdown for a longer period as a whole if we see the economy and everything. That's why the government and everybody, the bureaucrats, all the, I mean, intelligent think tank have decided to unlock the things. So unlocking has created lots of problem, but the economy as a whole was at stake. If we talk about now, if we talk about all the private or corporate hospital or organization, say if we or any corporate organization stop doing work, say after taking all the precaution, then everything will be at stake. So I would say we should take the precaution as much as possible, do the limited surgeries, keep yourself and your surroundings educated, and then you have to proceed. We can't sit idle just waiting to things will change automatically and everything will be all right. So we have to save ourselves, save other body, and keep doing work. So, I mean, we have to take all the precautions, but at the same time, we have to think the show has to move on. So, I mean, by seeing one people say nowadays, thousands and thousands of clinicians are doing the things. Somebody waited for 1 month, somebody waited for 2 months, somebody waited for 3 months. So there is no limit for that. So it depends on our threshold. So everybody has started at the last, everybody was fed up. So everybody finally started doing. So somebody is still having the panic, but I would say nowadays, even 80% of people have resumed their clinical work, not up to that, efficiency, but up to certain level, they have, adopted the things. So I think the show has to move on, and we have to learn how to fight with this and how to take care of ourselves, and then we have to move on.
Yeah. My second question regarding intertrochanteric fracture.
Yes, sir.
Actually, in about 5 to 10 years back, when we used to attend these TraumaCon conferences, most of the surgeons used to tell that intertrochanteric fracture, the mortality rate is likely to be 20 to 30%. Now, with the most CT scan and all these newer instruments, can it is reduced?
Yes, of course. The most important thing is the only one thing is the most important is the earliest mobilization. If you mobilize the patient early, the most of the complications are drastically reduced, and the most common is the embolic complications, in which you don't have proof. You see in hospital, if something happens to any patient, all of a sudden he or she dies, we say it was an embolic phenomenon. Say this embolic phenomenon, although we give the low molecular weight heparin, but at the same time, the most effective prophylaxis for DVT or pulmonary embolism is to mobilize the patient earliest possible. So with the advent of all latest technology and the fixation device, we could make the patient mobilize earliest possible. So of course the complication has reduced, or the mortality has reduced.
Right.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Dr. Rajiv Jain, sir, Vice President from Delhi.
No, Dr. Yuvraj, I've heard you earlier. It was nice hearing at this critical time, and you have a lot of confidence. I must appreciate. My concern is that during this confidence phase, infection remains,
Yes.
and Faridabad, by the way, is a very high infection rate. If you watch the numbers, yesterday Faridabad in Haryana had overshot Gurgaon as well. So please take care of yourself and your staff.
So thank you very much for the concern. We'll take care, sir.
So any other question or any observation if someone has to make, then they can unmute themselves and
I am Dr. Sashikla Chandrasekhar. Nice presentation, Dr. Raj. I have one question. After the emergency surgery, do you do this routinely COVID test for all patients?
Right. Very good question. If any patient comes to emergency with any sort of bleeding or something, dislocation of the joint or like that, so we take the patient to the OT. But even then, the sample is being sent, whether just before surgery or immediately after surgery, whenever possible, so that even after that we can come to know that what we operated that patient, whether he or she was positive or negative. Once he found to be the positive, then accordingly we take all the precautions to quarantine, isolate, watchful for the symptoms and all those things. And if it is negative, then we take it as usual.
Thank you, doctor.
Good evening, doctor. That was a wonderful presentation, doctor. And I have a question regarding physiotherapy.
Okay.
Like this patient, will he be needing physiotherapy, and he will be getting any physiotherapist, or he has to come to the hospital?
Oh, right. No. None in any trauma patient, even joint replacement patients, none of the patient had been asked to come to the hospital for any sort of physiotherapy.
Okay.
Anyway, if it is the joint replacement or any trauma surgery, if the physiotherapy is advised, some of the physiotherapists go to the house and then they attend the patient. So in this, So in this case, Although the physiotherapist went to the house to attend this patient for maybe 10-15 days, but if the patient attendant and the patient is well compliant, then he or she can be taught a little bit that we have not to be very much aggressive in physiotherapy. Rather, just keep on moving, doing some quadriceps, hamstring exercises, ankle flexion, dorsiflexion, plantar flexion, some brief education, and then the patient and attendant come to know and they learn it and they do it them by themselves.
No, Dr. Sab, I was asking you because probably the family has also been quarantined because of COVID.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
in such circumstances also you are sending physiotherapist with
No,
all protection.
even most of the physios are not willing to go, even nowadays. They're not willing to go. And rather we are promoting the patient relatives or whosoever is there at home. So they are doing the physiotherapy. Although if we delay the physiotherapy in this type of cases for a few days, it doesn't matter much.
Okay.
Madam, let me give you some practical examples. Like my father was discharged after single knee replacement just in the first lockdown. 3 days after the first lockdown.
Okay.
And, there was no physiotherapist available. No one was willing to come.
Come to sir house here in Noida. Yeah.
I stay in Noida. So Dr. Yuvraj gave me few links from the YouTube. So from seeing those YouTube links, I did the physiotherapy ourselves. So those links were quite they can tell us what to do, what all exercises minimum we have to do. So gradually we have to increase the exercise and what all exercise we have to do in which particular surgery. That is, the links are there. So,
I agree, Doctor. It's for us, we will be definitely be able to take care of our patients. But for patients where there is no medical member in their family, I was wondering in
can
those
be done
cases.
by even non-medical people also, ma'am.
Okay.
Yeah, because what he says is early mobility and mobility of the joints and some light exercises which can be done for strengthening the muscles.
Yeah, it's not necessary that they have to do very aggressive and all sorts of exercise. So physiotherapy is there remain for a certain while a little bit compromised, but we keep on pushing the joints and mobilizing the things, then I mean it's manageable.
Okay. Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you.
So
Sandeep, one last question to Dr. Yuvraj. Dr. Yuvraj, just a hypothetical example, somebody comes for an emergency surgery, you tested him, he is negative, you operated him, and he is ready for discharge. Before discharging, do you do a COVID test to prove to him that he has not contracted any COVID in your hospital? No. Otherwise, tomorrow he can claim that he can do you test him?
No. So once the patient come emergency or whatsoever, his test will be sent. Okay.
No. I'm saying he did not have COVID positive. He's in the hospital for 8 days, 10 days.
Okay.
Before going, do you do a COVID test to prove it that he's not contracted any COVID in your hospital?
No, we don't.
Sir, even guidelines doesn't permit.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just asking a question. That's all.
No, we don't.
Not a question of guidelines. Tomorrow I go home and I contract COVID somewhere else, and then blame the hospital.
So many patients.
I mean, it's not recommended, but at the same time,
from a very legal angle.
Yeah, you're right. Legally angle. Say this question was rose. Then some of the patient came and for surgery, and we said that your COVID is negative. I'm just telling. I mean, on a lighter way, he said, "You prove that you people all are here negative."
No, I agree.
So he said that you doctor, your staff, your nurses, your anesthetists, you tell me whether you do have proof of negative or not. So practically, this is very difficult.
I know.
Yes. Right, Dr. Sandeep.
Yeah. So, sir, thank you, Dr. Yuvraj. It was a very nice, lucid presentation, enthralling presentation, sir. And a lot of queries, practical tips were given by you, and a lot of confidence was generated among ourselves regarding the management of non-COVID emergencies, especially in elderly. So if we are confident, then definitely we'll tell our employees also to be confident and take the necessary medical advice and treatment in these times, because these times we know that they are gloomy times, and but still, as you rightly said, we can't wait for the corona to end to get ourselves treated or get the medical attention for our problems. So whatever problems we have, we should seek as early as possible the emergency treatment or the teleconsultation, and gradually if required then we can even visit the hospitals. They are now safe for non-COVID patient, especially certain blocks and
Yeah, those
they
are segregated.
Yeah, they are segregated and they are all taking all precautions. And sir, thank you very much for having the pivotal role played by you in the success of this AUSD DigiConnect series. This was the 15th issue, and thanks to all the participants also for sparing their valuable time. So we will see you all next Saturday, sir, at 6:30 p.m. So that has become a routine for every one of us. This is a good opportunity for every one of us to
Sandeep, next Saturday, next Saturday.
9th, yeah,
Sandeep.
that was I was coming to, sir. On Saturday, we'll be joining for celebrating our Occupational Health Day, and that will be, sir, celebrated across India. And all our branches, branch members, they will be joining, and we will be having 3 international speakers for that. And one will be Dr. Soumya Swaminathan. She is Chief Scientist of WHO, and she was head of the ICMR earlier from India. And Dr. Sergio Ivacoli, he is Honorary General Secretary for International Commission on Occupational Health. He will join from Rome, Italy. And Dr. Shirnath Reddy, he is Chairman of PHFI. So we all will be joining for that particular program. So we all request you all to log in for that program. We all will be sending the links to you, and prior registration is mandatory for that. This we are doing on a Zoom meeting platform, but that is a Zoom webinar platform, and links have already been sent. And if you have not received it, you can just request, and you can contact us. You can contact any one of us. We will help you out. And the show has to move on, sir, as you rightly said. Whether corona is there or not, the show has to move on. And that is the take which I am taking from you, sir. From today's, that tagline will be there with us, sir. The show will continue.
In fact, what has happened in the corona time, we are meeting more frequently than we used to meet pre-corona time. So,
and this has given opportunity to join from across India, sir. Now, Dr.
Yes.
Sudha is from Chennai, Dr. Shanbhag from Mumbai, Dr. Shashikla from Bangalore, Dr. Raut from Pune, and Dr. Tyagraj was also from Bangalore. So from Gurgaon, Delhi, everywhere we are joining from, and we are having this academic platform to learn from each other and share our experiences. So that all our queries are resolved and we don't feel isolated in this isolation times. So thank you very much, Dr. Yuvraj, sir. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
One and all. Thanks.
Dr. Shanbhag, sir, and Dr. Raut, sir, can we have the meeting in recent for the state president and secretary, sir?
Can we make it on Monday, Dr. Shanbhag?
Yeah, I have no problems on Monday.
So Monday evening at what time, sir?
I am okay with any time which is convenient to you people.
No, for me
I am
also.
semi-retired actually. So
They are not retired. not retired from IOH.
Yeah.
So time, sir, 7.
You fix up timing. So
I have no problem. 7 o'clock is okay with me if everybody else is okay with it.
Because that is a working day. Might be those who have gone to office, they can return back and by that.
If you want, even you can make it a little later by 8 o'clock. 8 to 9 you can have a meeting.
8 o'clock is also okay.
8 o'clock will be fine.
So in the meantime,
I am okay with 8 o'clock also.
In the meantime, we will personally talk to all the branch secretaries and president, and whatever registration have been made, we will review those registrations on that day.
Correct.
Yeah.
So how to go forward, because time is very less.
One more thing, Sandeep, on the website, Yeah, on the website we have, if you go to www.iochindia.com, click upcoming events. This is there, and you can register from there also.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, the registration link is there also available.
Right.
So already.
And as of today morning, we had registration of 200.
Okay.
200 registrations were already there today morning.
That's good, sir.
That's good.
Yeah. Only thing, those who have registered, we have to remind them that they should.
Yeah, we'll send them next week. We'll send them the letter. We have to send them the etiquettes of how to do that and all that. All the rules and all that is being worked out. So that we'll send to everybody.
Yes. So thank you, sir.
8 o'clock on Monday.
8 o'clock on Monday, sir.
Is Hitesh there? Have you been able? Has he been able to speak to the secretaries, presidents?
Dr. Hitesh is not there, sir.
He's not there. Then Dr. Raut.
Yeah.
Has Hitesh been able to speak to the presidents and secretaries, or no?
Yeah, he has spoken.
Okay.
He has spoken.
Okay. Good.
Once again, I'll tell him to call everyone on Monday.
Yeah. So Monday 8 p.m. we can have the meeting.
Yeah. I'll schedule a meeting and then we'll have it.
Then you can talk to them.
Yes.
Only thing, Sandeep, I'll talk to Ashish also. Ashish is not here just now. We have invited IAPSM to join the webinar. IAPSM is our MOU has been done with them.
Send mail to them.
Yeah, he has already responded and he has already informed everybody. So we can expect some registrations from there also.
Right.
And Dr. Raut, I was thinking that as a president of IAPSM, we will call Dr. Sanjay Jodhpe as one of the panelists, so that we give him enough respect as a parallel association president. Yeah, I will tell that too. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So thank you, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks. See you.
Yeah. Good night.
Night.